Hey, it's been a while since I've posted a vlog. A little bit over a year, actually more than that. I think the last one I posted was about the whole haunted house at my parents'. A lot's happened since then. I moved out. I am in my own apartment now and have been for the last few months, maybe half a year. So, well, the point of me filming this now, I'm actually filming this on my phone. My DSLR that I usually use to do these is currently charging batteries. So I haven't used it in a couple months and the batteries were definitely drained. So I'm using my phone. We're gonna see how the phone is, and I have an external mic right here to hopefully make the sound pop. I am filming this because, like a majority of you, I am currently in quarantine due to COVID-19. And due to this being the new norm, I have actually had more time to kind of embrace something that I've been putting off for the last year, and that's called creative depression. And I've had that since we worked on Night of Adventure. I took a break from writing scripts, poetry, stories, everything. I took a break from filming, from helping out on sets, from essentially allowing my creative side to shine, and I shut down completely. Overall, I think that was like an era of overthinking and overworking myself and hitting a low that I've never actually been in with my creativity, and I gotta tell you, it sucked a lot of ass. I mean, granted, I had a lot of stuff going on, like moving out and having to pay my bills and get a full-time job to support that, and just kind of adult. I had to learn how to adult properly. 2019 was actually a huge learning curve for myself professionally and personally, and that curve actually had a huge ditch that I had to climb out of myself. And while I was in that creative depression, I had to make sure that I didn't allow myself to stoop that low on a personal level, where it wouldn't have to have an effect on me. And eventually it sort of did. I kind of got into a low mindset and even stopped talking to friends and really only corresponded with close family members. So it was a lot. It was a huge learning curve. But the takeaway I got from all of that is I had to find a happy balance of embracing my own individual self while also allowing myself to being able to enjoy my craft of writing or filming or whatever, being creative in some sort. I had to be very humble about everything. That's something that's the takeaway I had, and that was not the case for me, as I had a very huge ego after doing Night of Adventure. And so I had to kind of let that ruin the joy of living in the moment and allowing myself to feel awesome for doing something so creative. So here we are in 2020, and there's a pandemic caused by a horrific virus, and that's the whole thing, right? Everybody's going in quarantine and kind of shutting themselves out, and social distancing is a huge thing. I am a firm believer in that because I don't want this to last longer than it probably will be, because our country just has been sucking the last 4 years, almost 4 years. So anyways, I am stuck. I am stuck in my apartment with my friend Con. And lately I've actually been finding myself having more creative juices flowing. You know, I've been forcing myself to write, I've been forcing myself to watch movies, I've been forcing myself to write down dreams, reviews, everything. Anything to do with writing, I've been forcing myself to do. And I even started a new podcast, Over and Under Artists Exposed, and that's where I actually talk with artists of any kind. They could be any artists of any sort, you know. And that podcast has actually helped me kind of find my way back. It's always awesome to hear how these people have gone through similar things and how they keep pushing themselves forward. And I mean, that's the whole point of the podcast, was to inspire other artists to keep going. Because of that, they actually kind of inspired me to get my ass in gear. I've also been editing photos. I dabbled in photography a little bit last year, and so I have a whole hard drive full of photos I have yet to be touched. And so I've been doing that. I upgraded my computer, you know, I upgraded my desk. I got rid of the old and allowed new things to come in, since all of this is such a huge change. And in a way, we are all in this together as artists. Even though there's a lot of differences in what kind of field you're pursuing. You know, you could be painter, a cook, photographer, you could be a filmmaker, you can be a writer, you can be a graphic design artist, I don't know, you could be anything. They're all different, and they all have different things attached to them of pursuing those. But overall, we are actually one huge family that exists to breathe new ideas out to the public and to inspire others. And not just others, but also ourselves. And that's the most important takeaway. It's a realization that I had where every artist has to know how low they can go and fully embrace that. It's not a matter if how low you hit, but it's a matter of when you hit. It's there's no ifs, it's just when. It's going to be a guaranteed thing. Unfortunately, I experienced that in a way that I didn't see coming. But as I've stated, I've been writing more, and I actually got a draft done of a short script I've been working on for over a year. It's a new draft, so I got that done, and that felt great to stay on top of that. And I've been editing my podcast. This whole quarantine, I just had time for myself, and I've had time to force myself to embrace what I've been putting off, essentially. And I even had time to watch a Netflix docuseries. I never have time to watch Netflix or binge watch Netflix in that sense. But I watched all 7 episodes of the show yesterday, and I was like, wow, I can't believe I've binge watched all of that. But then after that, I started writing, and so I'm always trying to keep myself going forward. There has been an itch for me to get off my lazy ass and to hit record on this thing and to actually make a vlog of sorts, to essentially ask you guys what you have been up to during this whole time and how you guys are utilizing all this freedom, What are some movies, shows, books, recipes? What are some things you've been crafting? What are projects you've been working on? All these things have been going through my mind of like what others are working on during this time, because during this time, it's a time for us to fully embrace ourselves. Now I want to know what new things you have learned about yourself during all this time that we've had. Have you given yourself the amount of time that you deserve to reflect on all the achievements that you have earned throughout all these years? Are you giving yourself enough time to reflect on how you're connecting with your family and how you're connecting with your friends, how you're connecting with yourself? And I think that's the most important thing, is with yourself, because this is so much time for unity right now, where everything's quiet and we're all collectively doing our own things in our own spaces. And you could collectively be creating, you'd be collectively loving, you'd be collectively doing something that's different than what the norm is. I know that right now it's a scary time, especially with the news and Facebook and Twitter, and it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. Maybe it's a sign to disconnect from Facebook and from social media and from the news for once, and reconnect with like a source that you're the most familiar with, which is yourself, and I think there's going to be good coming out of this outcome, not just from the creative side, but from people with their families and from people who have been going through hard times. There's going to be good coming from this, and I do truly believe that, and I'm very curious to see what people come up with during this time and what realizations people come to, and it's exciting to think about that, and it doesn't have to be negative. The news and all that makes that negative. Social media makes it negative. It causes me anxiety, for hell's sake, and it makes me angry. It makes me mad, and so eventually, if you want to live like that, that's on you. But eventually, you have to turn that off, because the thing is that we're stuck here, and we could definitely unite and create greatness out of a scary time. But real quick before I log off, I want to thank everybody who was supporting me last year when I was going through that rough time, and I'm curious to hear how others go about when they hit that rough patch. How do you keep yourself afloat, and I'm also curious to see what others are working on right now. What movies have you been watching? What shows do you recommend? What books do you recommend? What have you been writing? All that stuff, I want to know, because that's the happy side. That's the happy, good stuff. And we need more of that and less bullshit that's out there already. I have been actually watching all my Blu-rays with director's commentaries. I've been watching the director's commentaries on that, and I know a lot of people are turned off by director's commentaries, which I find very interesting, because it's essentially like a podcast with visuals. It's fascinating. So I'm really curious to what others are doing and how you guys keep yourself afloat in these times, and I'm very curious to see everything come to fruition before the end of the year during this time period. So just a reminder, it's scary. Everything's gonna be okay though. We're in this together, and this is not the first time or the last time that we have to unite and actually be humane to each other. I think that's one thing we all have in common, is that we can do that so easily, and yet we're still lost in our own worlds that we forget how to reconnect with each other. I do hope goodness comes from this. Anyways, leave your comments down below. Sorry for the crappy quality if it's crappy. I don't know. First time filming on a cell phone, so we'll see how it works. But happy Sunday, guys.